Get to the dragon! Ah! Bastard! You've met your match! You'll fall to our blades! I think you stole my heart with that very first dragon sword. It felt like time stopped for me in that moment, and all I could see was you.
See the mammoth? Watch out for the ones with carvings on their tusks.
If you've business with the yarr, I'd ask that you speak to me first. Excellent. You've done us a great service. Here's your reward. Until next time. Leave now or suffer dire consequences.
Halt, Outlander! By the code of Malakath, this stronghold belongs to the orcs. Your kind are unwelcome.
I'm just a traveler. What is this place?
This is our stronghold. Here, we are free to live as Malakath intended, away from the prying eyes of the Nords. You're not an orc or bloodkin, so stay out. We only help our own.
How can I convince you to let me in?
We've heard whispers of an enchanted pair of gauntlets, hidden and protected by dangerous men, beasts, or worse. They are called the Forge Master's Fingers. Bring them to our chief, and he will decide if you are worthy to be bloodkin to the orcs.
I'll find those gauntlets.
We will see.
Have a sip of water, and maybe I can steal a victory kiss or two, eh?
That was excellent. That cave could make good shelter, provided we clear out whatever's inside.
Turn back. Please, turn back. Before
This
it's too
place
late.
is crumbling down. Keep an eye on rocks falling. More likely, we are not the only ones here either. Tread carefully.
What are you still doing here? Let me guess. You're here for the treasure, aren't you? Just like all the others.
What treasure?
It's a long story. You ever heard of Ethereum? A rare mineral used by the dwarves. Supposedly, they had to build a special forge, the Ethereum Forge, to even work with it. The items it made were so powerful, they went to war over it, and the forge was lost. Or so the story goes.
And that story led you here?
I spent my life tracking down that legend, until my damn apprentice stole everything from me, and published it all under his own name. And now I can't rest. Not until I have proof. Something to show the world what I discovered, what I did. That my life mattered. But it's hopeless. I died here, just like all the others. Turn back. Turn back before you become the next victim.
I can handle myself.
Maybe so. Then again, I thought I could too. I'm not going to talk you out of it, am I? I know. I know. I was just like you once. Well, if you want to reach the summit, you're going to need some help. You want a hand?
Sure.
All right, lead on then.
I've never taken advice from a ghost before. But Katria seems to be trustworthy. I say we bring her along.
You had to take the armor. Come on, leave me with a little dignity.
Can't afford to have the sea. Free skin for your bones can be shut.
Since the quake, this place has been pretty unstable. Things are like flies, no matter how many you kill. There's a chest in there. The door's sealed tight though. Watch your step. This one's mine. Here's where I fell. Feels like ages ago. Here we go. Hold up. We need to talk. You know what this is? It's a lock. A tonal lock. Simple and very, very deadly. See the resonators up there? Strike them in the right order, and the door should open. Get it wrong and, well, you've seen what happened when I tried it.
You mean the earthquake?
Yeah, I thought I was prepared for anything. How can you prepare for a damned earthquake? And that was just one trap. Look around. Who knows what else this thing is capable of?
Catria's Journal by Catria. 17th of Sun's Height. Damn that scheming elf. Damn him. He steals my notes, my discovery, and publishes it under his own name. 20 years of my life spent digging through those ruins. And what do I get? A dedication? Friend and colleague, my arse. He's just mocking me. Well, I'll have the last laugh. Taron may have my theory, but he doesn't have any proof. Not yet. If I can find the forge first, I can show the world this is my discovery. Mine, not his. Fourth of last seed. I've got a lead. One of the moldy old books in Mizend mentioned the forge. Ruined through and through, but I was able to copy down a few scraps, including a map of the first era Dwemer kingdoms. Need to cross-reference it with modern borders when I get back. Here's the result. 1. Arkingthoms. This one, Arkingthoms, was on the inscription too. Apparently, the main Ethereum research center. Seems like the place to start. 2. Mentioned as Betharzal, allied city? Not Bethar Dams, though. Looks like a smaller site, north or northwest of there, on the river. 3. The primary source of Ethereum, extracted from some deeper mine? 4. A storage site for raw Ethereum just outside a major city. Apparently, it had to be kept outside because the Ethereum was harmonically volatile. 5. No name, no identifying information, but page after page of ruined diagrams. Couldn't make out much, but it looks like an astrolabe, a gear, some sort of crest in 4 pieces. Could this be the location of the forge? Something important, at least. 22nd of last seat. Arcing thumbs. My map may be rough, but it was enough to get me here. There may be something to this after all. 23rd of last seat. Reach the treasury. There's a tonal lock here, still active. Judging from the corpses, it's safe to say the traps are still active too. Couldn't find any clues, so I'll make a sketch and work through this carefully. 5 resonators, 5 tones. Just have to hit them in the right order. Let's see.
That's it. Keep going. Almost. Got it. So, it is real.
What is this?
Let me see it. Look, on the edge here. This has been cut, precisely cut. If you had another piece about the same size, it would snap right in. I saw a drawing of this once. This shard, it's part of a key. A key made of pure Ethereum. The key to the forge.
So, what now?
We have to find the other pieces, of course. There should be, 3 more. 1 for each of the 4 cities that worked on the forge. I had a map in my journal. That's where we should start.
I have 2 of the other shards already.
Really? Well, now that makes things easier.
Then what?
We still have to find the forge itself. I had a lead on that too. There's so much to do. I'm going to head out and start tracking things down. We'll meet again. I'm sure of it. For the first time in a long while, I think we may actually be able to do this. And I owe it all to you. Thank you.
What now? I've seen my share of that world. Nothing compares to the violence of Skyrim. She is beautiful, as she is dangerous.
Are you alright? You're looking a bit shaky after that one. You need a rest? A drink? Me to stop hovering? Sorry. I just get worried about you.
You have returned with the gauntlets. Enter. Speak to our chief right away.
I don't believe it. You found the Forge Master's fingers. You've impressed me, Outlander. No one else has returned from this task before. By the Code of Melakath, I name you bloodkin to the orcs. Let it be known among the strongholds that you are family now.
I'm honored.
Feel free to trade with our smiths for orc weapons and armor. Train with my warriors, or purchase poisons from the wise woman. Welcome to our stronghold, bloodkin.
So, what are we doing tonight?
Ildari's Journal by Ildari Saarthal. Day 32. It's been almost a month since unearthing the crypt at Fort Frostmoth, and I haven't seen a single spark of life in the General's remains. Grafting the Heartstone to the subject is proving much more difficult than I originally anticipated. I've used almost every method I can think of, and still there's no sign of reanimation. At this rate, it could be years before I make any progress, which is time that I just can't afford right now. If my vengeance is to come to fruition, I need results. If not, I may need to resort to more drastic measures. Day 47. It finally appears that I'm making some progress. After my latest experiment, General Carius' eyes briefly opened and he moved his arms. It lasted for less than a few moments, but it's the first sign of progress I've seen since I arrived here. A few of my assistants were insisting that I was imagining things, but I dismissed them for their insolence. They won't be bothering anyone ever again. Day 55. General Carius awoke fully today. He bolted upright after my incantations and began staggering around like a blind man. He seemed to ignore my commands. In fact, hearing my voice seemed to increase his hostility. I was able to remove the Heartstone before he became violent, but this isn't a result that I expected. Even though he's able to be awakened, I feel as though the real work has just begun. Day 59. The General is still unable or unwilling to listen to my commands. He's acting increasingly paranoid and appears to have his own free will. He's convinced that I am a spy or the enemy, and I've had to restrain him to prevent him from outright attacking me. This is becoming intolerable. I'm beginning to wonder if someone with a Heartstone can be commanded at all. If my experiments with General Carius fail, I may have to resort to self-experimentation, something I've been avoiding for a long time.
Huguenot Ice Shaper's Notebook. Pieces of suitable size and shape is traditional methods is nearly impossible, but this material fascinates me. After repeated bouts of extreme heating and cooling, note magical methods are the most viable, yields far more material to select from. In addition, the shards are more regular in shape than debris left by a pickaxe. The amount of waste is disappointing, but a piece of Skyrim yields particularly satisfactory results. The product is quite rough, but Nordic motif, perfection. With a bit of hired help, I have adequate materials to reproduce the design and distribute to the mainland. Greywash and the Harpies by Tudasis. On the 12th of Hearthfire every year, the people of the Hammerfell Township and Barony of Laneland celebrate Riglametha. Riglametha, in the Banthan dialect of the ancient Redguard tongue, means grateful offering, and is a festival of the graces the gods have granted the people of Laneland over the centuries. Tradition dictates the performance of a number of plays about the great moments from Laneland's past, and one of the most popular is Greywash, which may be translated as the crows who were punished or the crows who punished. Old Redguard is somewhat vague with its objective case. The story of Greywash, as any Laneland child will tell you, is of the wicked sisterhood of Daedra worshippers who craft lies, curses, murder, and suicides to hurt the people of Laneland. Most of all, they use their beauty as a weapon to drive men to mayhem. Their leader, the temptress Noctira seduces the unnamed Baron of Laneland and is about to force him to commit suicide to prove his love when the Baroness arrives. Baroness tricks Noctira into wearing a beautiful white robe from the Baroness's closet. See how the robe glows with the luminescence of pearl, but the inside is soft, feathered with down. Noctira puts on the robe and the trap is sprung. The robe is magical and transforms Noctira into a giant black bird. The Baron, no longer enchanted, slays the giant bird and calls in his cook. The sisterhood has, by this time, taken over Laneland Castle and turned it into an orgy-filled den of decadence. At the height of their frenzied debauch, the cook arrives with an enormous roast to keep their energy high. They dig into the deliciously prepared meal, and at the crescendo of their gorging, Baron and Baroness appear to tell them all that they've just devoured their leader, Noctira. The women scream and caw, and suddenly they too are transformed by the magic of the robe into harpies, vicious half-bird creatures. The interesting thing about Greywash, from a scholarly perspective, is how much the story has changed and continues to change over the years. In some versions of the story, Noctira is an innocent peasant seamstress, and it's the Baroness who's cruel and the wicked leader of the Harpies. Noctira prays to Dibella and is given the charm to make the magical robe, and she and the Baron live happily ever after once the Harpies have feasted on the transformed Baroness. During the long reign of the Virgin Baroness of Lanland, Vianna the Pure, 2E120 to 2E148, the Baron was portrayed as a willing conspirator of Noctira. The Harpies thus have two birds to dine on. It is unlikely that trying to find the truth in the story is profitable research. Harpies are indeed a common nuisance in the Iliac Bay, particularly around Lanland. They do have their own tongue, and the few who have mastered it and not been devoured by their interviewees suggest that the Harpies have no more idea about their origins than we do. In a different vein, one of the best known of the Daedra princes is named Nocturnal, who is often portrayed as a beautiful dark woman holding two black crows. It is not a difficult etymological trick to derive the name Noctira from nocturnal, or vice versa. Guide to Eldrune. The town of Eldrune is a dusty cluster of veteran-style buildings nestled against the southwest slopes of Red Mountain, just outside the Ghostlands. Its name means Elder Home in Dunmary. Principal districts of Eldrune. Eldrune is the district seat of House Redoran and one of the largest settlements on Vardenfell. The three principal districts are Eldrune Town, Eldrune under Scar, and Buckmoth Fort. Eldrune Town is a large settlement in the Redoran village style, built of local material, with organic curves and undecorated exteriors inspired by the landscape and by the shells of giant native insects. Most guild halls, corner clubs, and merchants are sited in this southwest corner of town. Convenient to Westgate and the Strider Port, while the temple is located on high ground to the east and surrounded by a residential section. Eldrune under Scar is the most distinctive architectural feature of Eldrune, a manor and council district sheltered beneath the shell of an ancient, extinct giant crab. The large carapace encloses a central dome, from which radiate the entrances to the Redoran Council chambers, the manor of the Redoran councillors, and shops of a few upscale merchants. Buckmoth Fort is the Imperial Legion garrison for the district. The strong walls and towers of the western fortress lie a short distance to the south of Eldrune Town, through Southgate, behind the Mages Guild. Services. House Redoran services are in the Council House and Councillors' Manors of Eldrune under Scar. The Eldrune Temple, on the east side of the town, provides services for temple worshippers. Buckmoth Fort offers services to the Imperial Legion and devotees of the Imperial Cult, including an Imperial Cult altar. The guild halls of the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild are near the south gate. Pricey but high quality clothier, alchemist, and enchanter shops are under Scar as well. Commodities at reasonable prices, but with smaller selections, are available from the smith, clothier, trader, pawnbroker, and bookseller near the entrance of Eldrune under Scar. The Ald Scar Inn and the Council Club, Corner Club, are found to the west, near Westgate and the Siltstrider Port. The Rat in the Pot Corner Club is in South Eldrune, near the guild halls. Notable figures. All 6 Redoran councillors, Brara Morvain, Flaren Ramorin, Athen Serethi, Garissa Lethri, Minor Arabar, and Bolvin Venom, have manor residences in Eldrune under Scar. Edwina Albert is the Mages Guild steward, and Perseus Mercius has recently become the Fighters Guild steward. Old Methel Saren is an eminent temple priest and scholar. Ray Sapulia is commandant of Buckmoth Fort, but Imsin the Dreamer is the chapter steward. The Red Guard Hain is priest of the Imperial Cult. Goran Andirisus, the guild steward of the Morag Tong, whose guild hall is found in Eldrune under Scar. Travel and transportation. Roads lead northwest to Margan and Nisis villages, and by a circuitous western route to Caldera, Balmora, and points south. The road to Balmora swings northwest to avoid the barren wastes and curves along toward the west until it heads south again to Caldera. Between Eldrune and Caldera are many side paths. Watch for signposts or you'll get lost. Siltstrider Port is along the western town wall, north of Westgate. Siltstrider service goes from Eldrune to Balmora, Nisis, Cool, or Margan. Guild guides at the Mage's Hall teleport you to Belmore, Vivek, Caldera, and Sadrith Mora for a modest fee. Narmak is a long and exceptionally unpleasant walk, west to the coast and then south. There are no trails or marked routes. Casual travelers, ill-equipped for the attacks of wild beasts and brigands, should keep to the roads and travel services.
Boethia's Glory. Worship book for Boethia. Look upon the face of Boethia and wonder. Raise your arms that Boethia may look on them and bestow a blessing. Know that battle is a blessing. Know that death is an eventuality. Know that you are dust in the eyes of Boethia. Long is the arm of Boethia, and swift is the blade. Deep is the cut, and subtle is the poison. Worship, O faithful. Pray your death is short. Worship, O faithful. Pray your death is quiet. Worship, O faithful. Worship the glory that is Boethia. Changed Ones. Story of how Boethia refuted Trinimac. Of all the Atada who wandered Nirn, Trinimac was the strongest. He, for a very long time, fooled the Aldmeri into thinking that tears were the best response to the Sundering. They cried and shamed our ancestors, especially the feminine Aldmer. They even took the missing god's name in vain, calling his narratives into question. So one day Boethia, prince of plots, precocious youth, tricked Trinimac to go into his mouth. Boethia talked like Trinimac for a while then, and gathered enough people to listen to him. Boethia showed them the lies of the Atada, the Aedra, and told them Trinimac was the biggest liar of all, saying all this with Trinimac's voice. Boethia told the mass before him the triangled truth. He showed them, with Mephala, the rules of Psijic endeavor. He taught them how to build houses, and what items they needed to bury in the corners. He demonstrated the right way to wear their skin. He performed the way to walk to achieve an exodus. Then Boethia relieved himself of Trinimac right there on the ground before them, to prove all the things he said were the truth. It was easy then for his new people to become the Changed Ones.
Confessions of a Khajiit Fur Trader. A Khajiit's memoir of the black market fur trade. My execution is tomorrow. The turnkey asks what I'd like for my last meal. Bring me paper, I say, a quill and a candle. Perhaps the Jarl would like a confession. I would rather pass the time. When my father's harem burned down and our family fortune was lost to the ashes, my brother and I set to begging in the gutters of elsewhere. I will never forget the first time we stole a traveler's purse. It was almost by accident. Just a slip of the claw and the pouch fell into our hands. We ate like kings that night. We slept in a warm bed for the first time in months. Soon after, my brother and I took up the knife. The gang we joined treated us as the dirty orphans we were. We robbed, we scammed, we cut and ran, and years of debauchery and hard living took their toll. I lost half my ear in a knife fight with a blind drunk Argoni. I wanted to give up, but my brother, he dreamed bigger and better. My brother wanted to make it to Cyrodiil and become legit merchants. We had a plan, one final heist of a northbound caravan said to be filled with jewels. Something went wrong. My brother could not stop the horses on time, and I stood helplessly by and watched the wagon plummet over a cliff. But as I picked through the wreckage, my devastation turned to excitement. There were no jewels, but there were plenty of luxurious wolf pelts, horka tusks, and mammoth hides. More than enough to pay my way to Cyrodiil. I'd follow in the footsteps of so many of my kind. A traveling merchant, someone with a respectable profession. I had all the furs bundled in my pack when I saw my brother's broken body. His ears were still warm, and I shut his eyes for the last time. This was his dream, and he would want me to go. But what I wanted, well, the caravan guards were coming. I had to go, but I couldn't just leave his body to rot. My brother gave me my first skin. It was to be a memento, but in the darkness of the fence's cabin, the coin hit my hand heavy. Then she looked at my brother's pelt and offered 3 times the amount of any other fur. Disgust caught in my throat, but did not live very long. I realized the cost of such a forbidden luxury, the value, the demand, The respect. This is what I wanted. It became easier. A dark alley, a gag in one hand, and a quick slice across the throat. Gently hold the body as it bleeds. I became faster, my cuts precise and fluid. I peel the skin with one motion and kept the merchandise pristine in one piece. I became rich, far richer than anyone in my family had ever been. Yet I was careful. My stronghold was well hidden and practically impenetrable. I hired the men that used to employ me. We moved frequently on less traveled roads when we hunted in the wild. We stalked the back alleys we used to sleep in when we hunted in the city. I grew so rich that I no longer needed to dirty my own hands. Patchwork-colored furs fetched the best price among the Bosmer. Argonians preferred the pelts completely skinned and tanned. Orcs prized the thick, waterproof leather of the Argonians. Humans most often bought tails and ears. I had to employ an alchemist and a master craftsman for a couple odd requests, but I didn't ask any questions when the gold piled up. And now I'm a prisoner. Maybe I became careless. Maybe I let too many secrets slip between the sheets. The raid of my fortress was a massacre. They took me alive. Barely. That was their mistake. My enemy should have killed me when they had the chance. I have one lockpick, and the northern wall of my cell is weak from disrepair. My head shall not roll tomorrow. I am not finished with the trade. There will always be buyers. Someday, I will sell my own skin for a king's ransom, as my name is legend. And yours shall rot in the gutters with your bones.
That wildness has a charm of its own.
You've come. The Draugr infesting Namira's sanctuary are inside.
Wait here, I'll take care of them.
Then I'll wait.
There's something near. Stay close to me. Fall to my blade. Orioles, arsehole! As easy as that.
You've done it. The shrine is ours again. Now we need to prepare a grand feast to welcome you to Namira's coven. You will have the honor of bringing a fresh kill for the main course, and I know the perfect person.
Who is it?
A priest filled with the taste of an easy life, Brother Verilus from Markarth. Give him this gold. Tell him you need arkg's help exploring an old cavern for treasure. And when he stands in Namira's presence, she will take care of the rest. Say hello to Verilus for me. Many used to come to these caves. The forgotten, the wretched.
You don't want to get involved with this crap.
What you learn here will last you a lifetime. Several, if you're talented.
I need to speak to you about Saarthal.
Please don't tell me that another one of the apprentices has been incinerated. I have enough to deal with right now.
We found some sort of orb. Tolfdir wanted you to see it.
I see. I trust that Tolfdir will provide a more specific explanation. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Tolfdir normally looks after your little group, yes? Since he's apparently occupied, and I will need to see this discovery for myself, I think perhaps you should begin researching the subject. Speak with Urag in the Arcanium. See if he's aware of anything that matches your discovery. And good work. The next time you find yourself exploring Nordic ruins, perhaps this will be helpful. Until next time.
Can you smell magic?
You are now in the Arcanium, of which I am in charge. It might as well be my own little plane of oblivion. Disrupt my Arcanium, and I will have you torn apart by angry Atronachs. Now, do you require assistance?
Is there any college business I can assist with?
If you're feeling adventurous, I'm always looking for someone to procure valuable books from some more dangerous locations.
I'm ready for some adventure.
Well, all right, here. I scribbled down the last place I'd heard about. Check it out, but be careful.
I need to learn about something we found in Saarthal.
I know what you want. Word travels fast around here. Discovered some big mystery, huh? Well, you don't even need to ask. No, I don't have anything for you. Not anymore, anyway.
You don't have anything that can help?
I said not anymore. Orthorn stole a number of books when he ran off to Felglow Keep to join those summoners. Some kind of peace offering. I think one of those volumes may have had some relevant information. If you want them, you'll have to talk to Orthorn.
Doesn't anyone care that Orthorn stole things from the college?
Not enough to bother with. Archmage Aaron's approach to these things is just to let them sort themselves out. Although now it looks like you'll be doing the sorting. Good luck with that.
Who is this Orthorn?
He was an apprentice here at the college. Not very skilled, but got involved with a group of mages who took a liking to him. When they left, he took off after them. Stole supplies and books from the college. I suppose as a way to ingratiate himself.
Why are these mages in Felglow Keep?
Let's just call it a difference of opinion with the college. They were interested in research that goes outside the bounds of what the college allows, so they were persuaded to leave.
Are there any special books you're looking for?
As a matter of fact, there are. Have you ever heard of Shalador? Immensely powerful mage, back in the First Era. Had an understanding of magic few have ever matched. He holed himself up in Labyrinthian, and devoted all his time to research and study. Wrote more than you would imagine possible. Since then, his writings have been scattered all over Skyrim, but are little use to anyone who can't translate them. I'm one of the few who can. I've heard whispers of more of his work having turned up. If you can track it down, it may prove useful to all of us. Fight well.
You there. I have questions for you. You were in Saarthal, yes? It has come to my attention that something was found there.
Yes, we did. I just informed the Archmage.
I am well aware. Tolfdir is still in Saarthal, is he? I shall be expecting a full report from him when he returns.
Why does this matter to you?
Something was discovered in Saarthal that was significant enough that Tolfdir sent a new member of the college, alone, to deliver word. That sounds precisely like the sort of thing that should matter to everyone, especially me. Thank you for your help. You may go now.
I'm glad to be wandering the wilds with you. I'm keeping an eye on Ancano. You can trust a Thalmor lackey about as far as an anvil can jump.
Never should have come here.
Shit. Oblivion, take you! Now let's do it. How about we catch your breath, have a sip of water, and maybe I can steal a victory kiss or two, eh?
Huh? What is it?
What the fuck is that? The battle calls me again. We rise victorious once again.
Is someone there?
May I just speak with her, please, to clear all this up? Please, please let me out of here. You have to let me out. They're going to do something awful to me. There's a lever, right there in the cell. Hurry, before more of them show up.
Oh, wait. Oh, the drill, Dragonborn! You distract them while I take them the fuck out!
Oh, you've saved me. Thank you so much. Who knows what they'd have done to me if you hadn't come along? I promise I'll help you get out of here.
Now, where are the books?
The books? Oh, I see. I thought perhaps... Well, I thought you'd come for me. But yes, the books. The caller will have them. She was most interested in one of the volumes. Although not interested enough to keep me from being locked up.
You should get yourself to safety.
Don't you need my help?
I can handle this on my own.
Well, if you're sure, I'll just be on my way then. Please, do be careful. And thank you.
Says these were right for buggering off the college books.
And begin.
Is someone there? What is that?
Rip him to shreds.
lies ahead. Keep your eyes open. This can't be good.
That's what we
Is
do.
someone there?
Bloody hell.
So you're the one who barged into my home and laid waste to my projects. How nice to meet you.
I'm here for the books from the college.
So you're just one of Oren's lackeys. That's disappointing. You show real promise. You come here, kill my assistants, disrupt my work. You've annoyed me, so I don't think I'll be giving you anything. How dare you!
Night of Tears by Draenor Seleth. Saarthal holds a prominent place in Skyrim history, even if most do not remember it by name. It is of course the site of one of the first major Nord settlements, one of the first cities of men in Skyrim, and the earliest known capital of their civilization. It was also the site of terrible bloodshed, when the elves attempted to drive the Nords out of Skyrim, to succeed only in incurring their wrath in the form of Ysgramor and his fabled 500 companions, who swept the elves from Skyrim and firmly established it as the home of the Nords. All this is known but little else. What happened on that Night of Tears when Saarthal was razed to the ground? What provoked the elves to such a deliberate, vicious attack? And what prompted such a severe response from the Nords? Vingalmo's treatise on the Altmer antecedent suggests that the elves of the Merethic era, along with their counterparts the early Dwemer, possessed a degree of sophistication unparalleled in Tamriel. They displayed power beyond what could be expected of the time. While a distinct explanation is not given for this, I believe that this work, compared with the early writings of Hesef Cairnes, suggests that something greater was at work on that night in Saarthal. The true motives behind the Night of Tears have been obscured to us by the passage of time, but I believe this was not a simple war of territory or of control of Skyrim. I believe that what happened was a significant event based around something very particular. The Nords found something when they built their city, buried deep in the ground. They attempted to keep it buried, but the elves learned of it and coveted it for themselves. Thus they assaulted Saarthal, their goal not to drive the Nords out, but to secure this power for themselves. I believe Ysgramor knew something of what the elves would find under Saarthal, and rallied together his people to keep the elves from gaining it. When the Nords once again controlled Skyrim, this power was buried deep below the earth and sealed away. Time has kept this knowledge from us, but it is my hope that time will also reveal the truth of these words. Every effort will be made to relocate Saarthal, and to find that which has been lost to us.
The Last King of the Aelids by Herminia Sina chronicles the downfall of the Aelid Empire in the First Era. The Aelids, or Heartland High Elves, ruled Cyrodiil in the long ages of myth before the beginning of recorded history. One of the earliest recorded dates, in fact, is the fall of the White Gold Tower in First Era 243, which is commonly assumed to mark the end of the Aelids. Although Aelid rule over all of Cyrodiil was indeed broken in First Era 243, this was only one of the most obvious stages near the end of a long decline. The first 2 centuries of the First Era saw increasing strife between the great Aelid lords of Cyrodiil. Alesia appears to have taken advantage of a period of civil war to launch her uprising. Imperial historians have traditionally attributed her victory to intervention from Skyrim, but it appears that she had at least as much help from rebel Aelid lords during the siege of the White Gold Tower. The popular image of the Aelids as brutal slave masters is based in fact, of course, but it is less well known that a number of Aelid princes continued to rule parts of Cyrodiil after 263 as vassals of the new Empress of Cyrodiil. This suggests either that Aelid rule was not universally detested, or that Alesia and her successors were more pragmatic than is traditionally believed, or perhaps some of both. In any event, excavations at a number of Aelid sites show continued occupation and even expansion during the so-called Late Aelid period, First Era 243 to 498. At first, many Aelid lords continued to rule as vassals of the new human regime. In some cases, Aelid supporters of Alesia were even rewarded with new lands taken from slain enemies. It is not clear to what extent human slavery continued under the Cyrodiilic Empire. Humans continued to dwell in the Aelid-ruled areas of Cyrodiil, but there is nothing definitive to show under what terms. This was an uneasy relationship from the beginning, and was not destined to last long. Resentment at the continued presence of Aelid nobles within the empire was a contributing factor to the rise of the so-called Alesian order founded by Maruk. The first victim of the Alesians were the Aelids of Cyrodiil. In the early 300s, the surviving Aelid communities in human-ruled areas were obliterated one by one, the refugees temporarily swelling the power of the remaining Aelid lordships. Then, in 361, the Elysians gained control of the empire and enforced the Elysian doctrines throughout its domain. The Ayleid lordships were abolished. Enforcement of this decree does not appear to have required much direct violence. It seems that by this point, the balance of power was so overwhelmingly against them, and their fate so long foreshadowed, that most of the remaining Ayleids simply left Cyrodiil, eventually being absorbed into the elven populations of Valenwood and High Rock. Indeed, the rise of the Dyreni hegemony may be linked to this exodus of Ayleids from Cyrodiil, a connection so far little studied by historians. Still, a remnant Ayleid population seems to have survived the rule of the Elysians, because we hear of the last king of the Ayleids joining the Battle of Glenumbria Moors, where the Dyrenis decisively defeated the Elysians in 482. How this king's people survived the preceding century is unknown. We do not even know who they were, although recent research points to Nenalata as the possible resting place of this last king. Unfortunately, in the current state of the Empire, funds are no longer available for proper scientific investigation of such extensive ruins, so the answers to these questions will have to be left to future generations.
Fragment on Artaeum by Torsay il Anselm, a work explaining some of the history of the Sigic island of Artaeum. The Isle of Artaeum is the third largest island in the Somerset archipelago, located south of the Moradunan village of Potenza and west of the mainland village of Runcibe. It is best known for being home to the Sigic order, perhaps the oldest monastic group in Tamriel. The earliest written record of Sigics is from the 20th year of the First Era, and tells the tale of the renowned Breton sage and author Vornet, traveling to the Isle of Artaeum to meet with Iachesis, the right master of the Sigics. Even then, the Sigics were the counselors of kings and proponents of the Elder Way, taught to them by the original race that inhabited Tamriel. The Elder Way is a philosophy of meditation and study said to bind the forces of nature to the individual will. It differs from Magicka in origin, but the effects are much the same. That said, it is perhaps more than coincidence that the Isle of Artaeum literally vanished from the shores of Somerset at the beginning of the Second Era, at about the time of the founding of the Mages Guild in Tamriel. Various historians and scholars have published theories about this, but perhaps none but Iachesis and his own could shed light on that matter. 500 years passed, and Artaeum returned. The Sigics on the isle consisted of persons, mostly elves, who had disappeared and were presumed dead in the Second Era. They could not or would not offer any explanation for Artaeum's whereabouts during that time, or the fate of Iachesis and the original Council of Artaeum. Currently, the Sigics are led by the lore master Celerus, who has presided over the Council of Artaeum for the last 250 years. The Council's influence in Tamriel politics is tidal. The kings of Somerset, particularly those of Moradunan, have often sought the Sigics' opinion. Emperor Uriel V was much influenced by the Council in the early, most glorious parts of his reign, before his disastrous attack on Akavir. It has even been suggested that the fleet of King Orgum of Paidonia was destroyed by a joint effort of Emperor Antiochus and the Sigic order. The last four emperors, Uriel VI, Morahatha, Pelagius IV, and Uriel VII, have been suspicious of the Sigics enough to refuse ambassadors from the Isle of Artaeum within the imperial city. The Isle of Artaeum is difficult to chart geographically. It is said that it shifts continuously, either at random or by decree of the Council. Visitors to the island are so rare as to be almost unheard of. Anyone desirous of a meeting with a Sigic may find contacts in Potenza and Runcibe, as well as many of the kingdoms of Somerset. Were it more accessible, Artaeum would be a favored destination for travelers. I have been to the isle once, and still dream of its idyllic orchards and clear pastures, its still and silent lagoons, its misty woodlands, and the unique Sigic architecture that seems to be as natural as its surroundings, as well as wondrous in its own right. The Separa Tower in particular I would study, for it is a relic from a civilization that predates the High Elves by several hundred years, and is still used in certain rites by the Sigics. Perhaps one day I might return. Note, the author is currently on the Isle of Artaeum by gracious consent of Master Sargenius of the Council of Artaeum.
The
Even with the
Archmage believed it
college's
important.
laid-back attitude,
It must
there
be
are still
powerful.
some things that
We
are
don't
off
know that. We don't even know what it is. Where is Arin anyway?
In his quarters with that Thalmor on Kano. Something urgent, it sounded like.
All right, that's enough. Let's return to our business, please.
Here are the books that went missing.
Well, well. And you seem to be in one piece. Thank you. I'll look these over and inform Mirabelle if I find anything relevant. Night of Tears, eh? I remember this one. Well, isn't that interesting? Did you read it yourself? If I recall it correctly, that has some interesting implications. You should mention that to Toldir. And here. I suppose you've earned these.
It's always encouraging to see the younger generations embracing education.
Urag suggested I come see you.
Did he now? Does he have information about our wonderful discovery?
I found a certain book, Night of Tears.
Is that the one about something buried beneath Saarthal? Something that men and Nair fought over? I'll have to make a point of rereading it. I don't recall the details. I just can't seem to tear myself away. Whatever this is, its beauty is like nothing I've ever seen before. If you'd allow me to indulge myself for a moment, I thought I might make a few observations. I'm sure you've already noticed the markings. They're quite unlike anything we've seen before. Eliad, Dwemer, Daedric, not even Falmer. None of them are a match. Quite curious indeed. Now, I'm not sure that you're quite as attuned as I am, given my extensive years of experience, but can you feel that? This marvelous object, it practically radiates magicka, and yet it's unlike anything I've felt before. Archmage Arin is already hard at work, and hopefully we'll have more information soon.
I'm afraid I must
No,
intrude. It is urgent that I speak with your associate immediately.
This is most inappropriate. We're involved in serious research here.
Yes, I've no doubt of its gravity. This, however, is a matter that cannot wait.
Well, I'm quite sure I've never been interrupted like this before. The audacity. I suppose we'll continue this at some later time, when we can avoid interruptions.
I need you to come with me immediately. Let's go.
I don't understand what's going on.
Really? Well, allow me to clarify the situation. I'd like to know why there's someone claiming to be from the Psijic Order here in the college. More importantly, I'd like to know why he's asking for you, specifically. So we're going to go have a little chat with him and find out exactly what it is he wants.
Aren't you just an advisor here?
Technically, that is true, but I still report to the Aldmeri Dominion, and I cannot ignore this situation. Don't worry. You can return to your petty squabbles and meaningless research as soon as this matter is resolved.
Thou must go.
Now, you are going to speak to this monk and find out why he is here, and then he will be removed from college grounds.
That orb gave me the chills. I don't think it was wise to move that thing.
Please do not be alarmed.
What you learn here
I mean
will
you
last
no
you a
harm.
lifetime. Several, if you're talented.
It is good to meet you in person.
What's going on? What happened to everyone?
I'd simply like to talk to you. I've given us a chance to speak privately. But I'm afraid I can't do this for long. We must be brief. The situation here at your college is of dire importance, and attempts to contact you, as we have previously, have failed. I believe it is due to the very source of our concern. This object, the Eye of Magnus, as your people have taken to calling it. The energy coming from it has prevented us from reaching you with the visions you have already seen. The longer it remains here, the more dangerous the situation becomes. And so I have come here personally to tell you it must be dealt with.
If this is dangerous, then why don't you do something about it?
I'm afraid it's not that simple. You must understand the Psijic Order does not typically intervene directly in events. My presence here will be seen as an affront to some within the Order. As soon as we have finished, I will be leaving your college. I'm all too aware that my arrival has aroused suspicion, especially in Onkano, your Thalmor associate. Nevertheless, my Order will not act directly. You must take it upon yourself to do so.
So what exactly is the problem?
As you may have learned, this object, the Eye, is immensely powerful. The world is not ready for it. If it remains here, it will be misused. Indeed, many in the Order believe it has already. Rather, something will happen soon, something that cannot be avoided.
What do you expect from me, then?
We believe that your efforts should be directed towards dealing with the aftermath, but we cannot predict what that will be. I fear I have already overstepped the bounds of my Order, but I will offer this. Seek out the Augur of Dunlane here in your college. His perception may be more coherent than ours.
Where can I find this augur?
I am unsure. He is somewhere within the college. Surely one of your colleagues must know his location. I am sorry I cannot provide you with further help, but this conversation requires a great deal of effort on my part. Now, I'm afraid I must leave you. We will continue to watch over you and guide you as best we can. It is within you to succeed. Never forget that.
I'm sorry.
What is
Were
the
you
meaning
about
of
to
this?
say something?
What are we doing
I'm sorry,
tonight?
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Don't play coy. You asked to see a specific member of the college. Here she is. Now what is it that you want?
There's been a misunderstanding. Clearly I should not be here.
All right.
I shall simply
I
take
feel
my...
strange.
What? What?
What
You're
the
not
fuck?
going anywhere until I find out what
What
you're
happened
up to.
just now?
I am not up to anything. I apologize if I have offended you in any way.
We will see about this.
I'm not sure what happened. A monk from the Psijic Order. Here after all these years, and then he just leaves. I hope we didn't offend him somehow.
I'm working on some very important research, I assure you.
Arania's research notes. 10 Suns Height. I've arrived at the College of Winterhold, who have generously allowed a fellow academic to make use of their vast library. A good thing, as even in the short ride from Sivder's Respite north of Windhelm, I feel chilled down to my very bones. I now search for the means to gain entrance to Sivder's tomb using the faint inscriptions found near the entrance. My objectives are to discover where Sivder's amulet might be found, as well as the burial site of Sivder's nemesis, Magrathi. I shall start with texts on ancient Nord heroes and work backward from there. 13 Suns Height. No luck thus far. Discouraging, but I will not despair. The answer lies in these walls somewhere. 14 Suns Height. A breakthrough! It's been recorded that Sivder's amulet has traditionally been passed down from father to son for generations. If my tracing of the lineages is correct, the current living descendants of Sivder are the Battleborns, a clan that resides in the city of Whiterun. If this is true, then Sivder's amulet is likely possessed by the youngest Battleborn son, one Lars Battleborn. I must inquire with them. 19 Suns Height. Details are sparse, but Magrathi appears to have once been an influential priest of the dragon cult. He seems to have slain Sivder's brother over rightful ownership of a silver mine. He is said to have been laid to rest in Shroud Hearth Barrow near Iverstead. I will now return to Sivder's Respite, take some additional notes, and then travel east to Windhelm, where a few good sellswords might be found that can help me with this treacherous undertaking.
Letter from Falk Firebeard by Falk Firebeard. A request for help stemming from the summoning of Potema. Over the last few days, we've had some disturbing information come to light regarding the events at Wolfskull Cave and the summoning and binding ritual you interrupted there. Given your involvement with that event, I'm asking you to return to Solitude to help us once more. I'm wary of putting all the details in print. Please come see me at the Blue Palace. Sincerely, Falk Firebeard. Letter from Raelus Sedaris by Raelus Sedaris. I hope this message finds you quickly. We've completed the initial excavation, but have run into some unexpected difficulties. Come as soon as you can. Your partner, Raelus. Letter from the Steward. Master of Entis Aretino, Yarr Ulfric Stormcloak wishes to express his deepest sympathies at the death of your mother, Nalia. Unfortunately, because you are fatherless and have no other known relations, the Jarl cannot allow you to remain in your home unsupervised. Therefore, in no more than a week's time, you are to report to Honor Hall Orphanage in Riften, where you will reside until your 16th birthday. The Aretino family home in the city of Windhelm will, of course, remain your property. The building will be securely locked and ready for your return 6 years hence. Note that I am unsure of the education provided to you by your recently deceased mother, or if you possess the ability to read the letter I am currently composing. Therefore, a member of the city guard will call upon you in 1 week at your home and provide escort to the orphanage. Hopefully, his arrival will not come as a complete shock. With greatest respect, Yorleaf, Steward to our most noble Jarl, Ulfric Stormcloak.
Salted journal page. It's been 153 years since the siege of Shadenhall, in which my family earned the Archaea Knot and the War Mace by shedding their own blood and freeing souls from the cursed bones of their ancestors. But this forsaken province seems to be even more densely packed with whites, and I've barely crossed the southern border. Priest in Falkreath is not trustworthy, and is it possible to trust an Altmer sorcerer after what they did in the Great War? It was a shame that the local kinsmen allowed him to be so close to their ancestors. I received a lengthy letter from the priest of Arkay from Markarth. He reports a flaw in accounting and plea for assistance. In the Hall of the Dead, according to the priest, amount of the deceased is decreasing despite the civil war and plague. They are not leaving on their own, obviously. The undead are so stupid that if they woke, the city wouldn't be able to sleep because of their incessant whining. Girls from Iliac Bay love the coin less than local guardsmen. I wouldn't be surprised if someone just carried the corpses out through the only city gate, and the guards would see only septums in their palm. I need to ask around. Merchants and farmers on the way to the city might have seen something. One of the meat dealers, the meat is definitely of the wilds, it still has fresh blood on it and a gamey smell, mentioned that he saw someone dragging a large bag. northwest of the city. Could be the cursed orcs? The greenskins are so intimidated that their gates are constantly closed, they don't even go out hunting. Maybe they know I'm here. I'm watching the bridge at the orc outpost. On the very first night, I noticed a creature wearing a black robe. The thing vanished, as if it had gone through a trough, a cliff near the river bank. There's no other option but to set up an ambush and continue observing. Orc, lend me your might. I haven't slept for 3 days, watching the bridge down from the orc outpost. The desecrator did not appear. I think if it had crept up on me, I would have known. The diary ends with a large diamond-shaped hole framed by a brown, thick stain of dried arterial blood. Telekinesis Arrow Research Notes. This spell tome will teach its reader the unique art of the telekinesis arrow, giving both a lesser power and the knowledge to craft these special arrows. Upon firing the arrow, one will find it to be suspended, frozen in the air until the telekinesis arrow lesser power is cast, upon which the volley will be released. It appears that only a certain number of arrows can be suspended in the air at a time. Attempting to fire any more than 10, they're simply returned to the archer's quiver. While suspended, one can pluck them from the air, however. Upon making contact, these arrows lose their magical power and cannot be retrieved. As they contain magical properties of their own, they appear to me impervious to enchantments from the bow they are fired from. Magna Gay Pantheon. Here's the pantheon of the Magna Gay, as documented by the ancient master Redshift, the first of its denizens who persisted enough with fitness to map the in-between heavens. This pantheon is made up of filters, chromes, penumbras, and capricious glows that influence the day-by-May fortunes of the myriad creatures that play among the Magna Gay's many and shattering floated untimes. All of them are days that may. Every spectrum of the Magna Gay, large or small, abides by Redshift's teachings and his catalogue of radiance. More so, the packets of the Magna Gay regard these beings in optic as a framework by which to measure their own perhaps it mays in the great schism of things. Who can blame them, really, after the breaking changed everything except for the suns? Long ago, the cultures of the Magna Gay gave these heavenly heroes and miscreants a stewardship over their own fates and fortunes, as constellations and birth signs that would inspire their actions and true accordance evermore. Thus does this pantheon affect all the Untime folk, from the Blue Mountains to the Vapor Lamp to the Wiggle Room Convene and even the Multimund beyond. The one exception from this tradition comes from the Tsayeski, whose subdermal culture enjoys no birth sign, an issue that will be touched upon never. Signs. Sea signs. The spirit of sea, for reasons lost to us now, share the traits of disaster and displacement. The breaking is central to the tales told to them when Marriott herself held fast against the erasure of the Magna Gay without success. Those born under the signs of the sea are rigid in their thinking and cautious in all approach. Their constellations are dim and indistinct. Barebone sea sign. Before this breaking, Barebone was a handmaiden of great merit who held the whole of the Black Book under her hood. Barebone's provinces were agriculture and the cultivation of the good soil. But then the thermal talk came, bringing the war of C and M, its aftermath resulting in the taint of all Y. Barebone vanished just after the war ended, abandoning the surface worlds and going underground. Nilbright, sea sign, proud, stubborn. Nilbright the Nyx watches over the borders of Y, snort and fiber ready to do combat with those powers that would wish it for their ill. This has been his domain ever since the breaking. Others whisper that Nilbright had a different station before now, as a misguided crusader of the chrome device, but these accusations have been dismissed by lay and learned alike. Nilbright is the twin of Agnilbright of K, and the daughter of Nilnithi, a color spirit of the pigment truce. Woad-rub, sea sign. A compound color of rare aspect, the woad-rub is now synonymous with the doom of newish ideas. Before the dawning, Marriott attempted to fuse the carnivorous and herbivorous principles into one, so that the harmony might always dwell in the cultures of the Magna Gay. This particular idea could not last long, biting and running from itself in near constant conflict. In the end, the spirit of the woad-rub was condemned downward into the depths of the utter black by the harmony, frozen in an eternal hungry struggle. The highly prized color called W is all that remains. Pygmeus, sea sign, scant movement before the Y blur. Merid commanded that a great border be fashioned from the black book. Pygmeus was the result in his right hand. He held the canvas of his sister Nymph. In his left hand he refused to hold anything except the lens in his finger veins. Pygmeus could not hold back the monster legions of the chrome device and the foul enchantments of the Y. He was finally undone by the fibrings of Nananol. His legacy and promise can still be reclaimed in the gathering and refinement of the pigment. Blend signs. Spirits of blend are on the rise. The heavens swirl around them now for reasons unknown. Though the invisible lens spirits are more vibrant, in contrast to all others connected to the black block, it is blend that enjoys the most prosperity and affluence in these days. The birth signs of blend are the eldest in the known spheres. Those born under their mark are nomadic, whimsical, and greatly given to freaking out. The constellations are difficult to process in manner of movement, triangulation, and high frequency. Sintil, blend sign. Before the breaking, Sintil was the messenger of the great Merid, who held the whole of his black block under her hood. Though impulsive as an adolescent and much given to traveling only at night, Sintil nevertheless guided all the spirits of the Magnagae in their various trials, imparting her divide-the-line wisdom wherever she could. After the devastation wrought by the War of C and M and its aftermath, the Y blur, Sintil withdrew from her station, taking a hammock into the unfettered eddies of the blend. She eventually became a caller of the pigment truce. Caker King, blend sign. The savannas and jungles of Otsir are lost to us now by the machinations of unknown towers. Caker King was a mighty tiger in those days. As such, he ruled a principality that invited the rest of the great cats into the den of the hiss and bite accord, a tradition now copied to different effect by the similarly vanished March of Snakes. The royal stations of great cats have long since been lost in the annals of celestial treaty. Caker King's tiger aspect is today only fashioned as a stone leap of its last majestic hunting. Swath, blend sign. Her original name hidden in mystery, Swath is the blend spirit of merrymaking, and the hallucinogenic admixture of sensations found in the esoteric realm of synesthesia. Swath governs the domains of eccentric artisans, painters, and blind musicians. Those born under her sign are often freckled, or greatly given to checkered patterns in their cloth. Her demi-member dress daughter, Nellybright, the princess of K-flies, does not yet enjoy a place among the Magnagae pantheon, but the wise say that her inconstant lantern lights will usher in a new and more beautiful order. Duabella, blend sign, youngest or oldest of the blend signs, and the one most likely given to aid newcomers because of it. Duabella is more of a concept than a color proper. It should be known that this assertion has come under attack by the fault philosophers of the Magnagae. Some say that Duabella is the most important constellation of all, at least for now, that her issue includes Grey Could, Mud that Might, and the non-Nimic that helps. Others declare that the Magnagae lay under the spell of Duabella's own invention, with her true role being merely another avatar of Nananol. K-signs. The spirits of K are young and ferocious. They have not yet understood their place in the Magnagae. That last statement is not entirely correct. There are reports, fortified by Redshift's own findings, that some K spirits actually enjoyed an existence prior to the current forms, more so that these spirits harbor secrets that they are still unwilling, or plainly refuse, to paint of. Those born under the sign of K are spontaneous and gleeful in the face of danger. The constellations are the brightest ever to be found in the firmament, ablaze with vigorous if dangerous purpose. Thermalel, K sign. The tale of Thermalel is a strange one. Redshift's records of the spirit are incomplete. It has taken many names across many patterns. It was once the Thermalu, the wicked spirit of blend, who sent perplexing messages to all other wheels for agendas unknown. It has also been called Thermalbach, the malignant spirit of M that ate folk at Laytide. Most famously, Thermalel was once Thermaltalk, the fiery and palate-fearing spirit of sea that chased away Barebone, the spirit of agriculture and cultivation. In every single manifestation, the thermal spirit seems bent on trickery and deception. The wise say that Thermalal, in whatever form, is always the current antithesis of progress, its wiles and wherefores sent by the chrome device, and by extension, Nananol. Agnil Bright, K sign. Agnil Bright is the fearless K, who burns against all monsters and associated powers that would threaten any of the untimed folk. Agnil Bright is a younger spirit, and much given to reckless abandon. Often he burns the belongings of those he has sworn to protect in his fighting, and is always sorry for it. He is the twin of Nil Bright of Sea, and uncle to Nil Niffy, color spirit of the Pigment Truce. Clanbox, K-sign. Before the breaking, Clanbox was the court jester of Great Merit, who held the whole of his black box under her hood. His sphere today is as the fickle K, who changes minds and moods in erratic fashion. More importantly, Clanbox habitually misdirects those ideas too soon coming to fruition. His son is Clanbox too, the emission color of the Pigment Truce. Nymph, K-sign. Nymph is the fortified K, the fount of inspiration. Why her temples are found mostly underground is a riddle for the Sept thing. Nymph governs the domain of motivation, especially in engineering and scientific discovery. In this role, she finds herself regularly contested by the Thermal Spirit, who would halt all ideas of progress, and Clanbox, who maniacally scrutinized Nymph's inventions for any potential buzzkill to the Magna Gay's effervescent frolicking. M signs. Spirit of M were once willful but rash, and in the whole thing were almost always irresponsible. They could bend all other patterns, save for the invisible powers of lens, to their relentless lines in dreams and form felts, though it might take an eruption or three. Merid stopped such bullishness when she was cast out by the Chrome device, her father. To the surprise of many, the M-spirits were glad to alter their ways. In the words of Redshift, the vagaries of the M-bound immortals seem to strive only on a single principle, to run as they will, and know no change save for change itself. Those born under the signs of M are both odd and silly, as are their patterns. Their constellations, ever so often, ripple. Married, M sign. Married is special. Before the breaking, her teeth, claws, and benevolent whimsy reached into every corner of the Magna Gay. Her present aspect is rarely depicted in brush form, a creature associated triple Ys, with the mountain, Y, and M, a trick of the Chrome device that has snared her real role in history into a faint remembrance. It was Merid that foretold the breaking and attempted to prevent it, who tried to stymie the war of C and M, who desperately fashioned warriors to stand against the Y blur. Of all of the greater spirits, it is Merid that we should most revere, for what if she forsakes us? Caller, M sign, a demi-member dressed shine, who arrived from the mural to teach his kindred how to adapt to a Magna Gay untime of varying reason. Divine contest between Caller and Menenderfoil involved in the main the catching of fish, whether by day, season, or special festival, are many, enjoyed at our hand camps at the end of every arm. Lay? M sign. Lay descended to the Magna Gay at the behest of Merid during the War of C and M. He attempted to halt it, but was mightily unsuccessful. Known in other spheres as the burping ambassador, Lay served only a fortnight in the conflict before becoming trapped in tone. Those wise more given to compassion say that it was Lay's continual belching that gave the Wybler pause enough for Merid to bring in others better suited to fight against the monsters of Nananol. Prophec, M sign. Before the breaking, Prophec was a knight of great Merid who held the whole of Black Block under her hood. He's famous for many things, except for his prowess at arms, an unfortunate deficiency from which filter jokes are born. Prophec is recorded as the laziest knight in the land, having only armed and armored once during the Wybler. Prophec is also known to have disappeared for a time prior to the tumult in the War of C and M, which he would have none of such none such. To his credit, Prophec the Scope did bend the thermal spirit over his knee, giving it a mighty spanking, which we will still enjoy a good laugh over. His daughter is daytime adapted of the Pigment Truce. Y signs. The signs of Y are endangered. Their whims, sketches, and Maywites have been tainted over time since the Y blur, brought on by the Chrome device. They have been cursed, even unto their make, in a similar manner as the dawns of Menumbriel, a cure and redemption still beyond our means. Those born under the sign of the Y once knew the harmony of the blessed Magna Gay Nemoli. Today, however, their heartstrings are as conflicted as their patterns. They need an unwavering architect to purify their station. Their constellations are therefore wild things, running amok in the heavens as if itchy with poison ivy, and it will take a true unknown to find the salve that will finally calm them. Menumbriel, Y-sign. Menumbriel was once revered as the mightiest of the Y-spec spirits. Then her issue, the Dawn, succumbed to the critic mark, a curse of Nana Null that is yet to be lifted. The Untime folk still propitiate Menumbriel, depicting her as a gigantic Mother Dawn, holding an urn of endless M that feeds into any nearby sliver, wake, or dream. The wise say that this M is a symbol of the loss Menumbriel feels for failing her children, and perhaps even as a path to curing them. Menenderfoil, Y-sign. These days Menenderfoil the Amazing is more renowned than his truly divine mother, Menumbriel. In truth, the mighty Menenderfoil is oft regarded as only a demi-memberdress of pop culture importance, an image thread in tapestries and wayposts. Some say, however, Menenderfoil will come as a herald of terrible and a hopeful aspect, roaring in the return of the dawns in proper, all of them rid forever of the critic mark. Scarab Framer, Y-sign. Scarab Framer was an alchemist of great merit who held the whole of the Black Block under her hood. Since untime immemorial, it was Scarab Framer that not only set into motion the growth of Menolus, but also their prosperity. He is the foredawn and watcher of the Y. That their resiliency has been tampered with since the blur is a curse that has vexed his mind into near immobility. If Scarab Framer could achieve the insight that escapes him still, the Y might repopulate itself free of all evil. Threadwhite, Y-sign. Malicious spirit of fibering, Threadwhite was the war leader of the Y-blur. He is a manifestation of the tainted magic that affects the Emnulls and the reach roots of Magnus, and is feared by all of the Untime folk as a servant of the Chrome device and Nana Null. Those creatures born under the birth sign of Threadwhite take great pains to hide that fact, but with little luck, green fields, shames, and other institutes frequently became fibered in their passage. Soren's Journal. Journalist Soren Harrickson, wildlife scholar. 14th of Rain's Hand, 4E201. In my duty to document all living creatures of Skyrim, the long-lost unicorn has never been far from mine. It said that long ago the very last of its kind was sacrificed to her scene. However, rumors of sightings in Tamriel have surfaced in recent times. Indeed, while these claims echo mostly from taverns in the late hours, one can wonder at the validity of such claims. I've chronicled the habits of mud crabs and rabbits long enough. This old man is quite ready for something a little more interesting. 3rd of 2nd Seed, 4E201. I have spoken with several hunters who swear by the divines that they have seen a unicorn during their travels. All have tried to approach it for a closer look, or to take it as a prize, but it has evaded them all. I continued my research with skepticism. If this is indeed true, how could this be? Was the last unicorn not truly the last, or is some other force at work? 18th of 2nd Seed, 4E201. While studying the mating habits of salmon is certainly enlightening, I've become quite obsessed with my pursuit of the elusive unicorn. I spoke with a hostler who said that during one of his horse-taming expeditions, he too saw something that closely resembled the fabled unicorn, though he was unsure. He is a man of great integrity, so I took his word in good faith. I decided then to speak with Tolfdir at the College of Winterhold. Being a wise man with deep knowledge of such things, I hoped he might have some insight. I was correct in my assumption. According to Tolfdir, the Psijic Order have appeared from time to time throughout history to assist with situations they believe are extremely important. While he cannot personally say for certain, he believes they may have intervened after the last unicorn was sacrificed, transporting another through time in order to set right what they believed was a wrongdoing. I am more motivated than ever to see this creature with my own 2 eyes. 24th of 2nd Seed, 4E201. The last sighting of the unicorn was rumored to be in a dense forest area near Riften. As old as I am, an energy filled my bones that I haven't felt since I was a young man. I hiked up the ridge of the mountains there and set up a very small camp. I was cautious not to set any fires and make much noise, lest I scare it away. After waiting 2 nights through this morning's early fog, I finally saw the majestic creature for the first time. I still cannot believe my own 2 eyes. It lingered long enough for me to see it clearly, its brilliant coat and distinct horns shimmering in the morning light. I watched its movements for nearly 30 minutes, enough time to draw a rough depiction for my library. This is absolutely the crowning achievement of my scholarly life. I've decided to turn this information over to the College of Winterhold rather than publish it to the general population. I would like to ensure that this creature remains protected, and I believe they are the most capable of such a task.
Darius Shano found himself running as fast as he could. He had no idea what he was running from or towards, but he didn't care. The desire saturated his mind. There was nothing in the world except flight. He looked down around for landmarks, anything to place himself or to use as a target, but to no avail. The featureless grasslands through which he was sprinting extended as far as the eye could see. Just have to keep running, he thought to himself. I have to run as fast as I can. On and on he ran, with no end in sight or in mind. Standing over Darius Shano while he lay quietly in his bed were his mistress, Vermina the Dream Weaver, and the mad god, Sheogorath. Vernima looked down with pride at this disciple of hers, and was boastful of her little jewel. Such potential in this one. Though dreams of inspiration, I have nurtured literary talent into fruition, and now he stands in acclaim as an emerging bard and poet. He will gain much favor before I tire of him. Sheogorath, too, gazed at the young Breton artist and saw that he was indeed famous among the other mortals. Mused Sheogorath. But how many are there who hate this mortal whom you have built? Is it the hatred of mortals which confirms greatness, and not their love? Surely you can accomplish this as well. Vernima's eyes narrowed. Yes, the mortals are indeed often foolish and petty, and it is true that many of their most bold have been despised. Do not worry, mad one, for I have the power to achieve many forms of greatness with this one, hatred among them. Perhaps, Dreamweaver, it would be amusing to show who has this power. Inspire foolish, arrogant hatred of this mortal for 10 years, and then I will do the same. We shall see whose talents are most efficient, free of aid or interference from any of the Daedra. At this, she relaxed into confident pleasure. The mad god is indeed powerful, but this task is suited to my skills. The mortals are repulsed by madness, but rarely think it worthy of hate. I shall take pleasure in revealing this to you as I bring the more subtle horrors out of this mortal's subconscious. And so, in the 19th year of his life, the dreams Darius Shano had been experiencing began to change. Fear had always been part of the night for him, but now there was something else. A darkness began to creep into his slumber, a darkness that sucked away all feeling and color, leaving only emptiness behind. When this happened, he opened his mouth to scream, but found that the darkness had taken his voice as well. All he had was the terror and the void, and each night they filled him with a new understanding of death. Yet when he woke, there was no fear, for he had faith that his lady had a purpose. Indeed, one night Vernima herself emerged from the void. She leaned in close to whisper into his ear. Watch carefully, my beloved. With that, she pulled the void away, and for hours each night she would reveal to Darius the most horrible perversions of nature. Men being skinned and eaten alive by other men. Unimaginable beasts of many limbs and mouths. Entire populations being burned. Their screams filled his every evening. In time, these visions gnawed at his soul, and his work began to take on the character of his nightmares. The images revealed to him at night were reproduced on the page, and the terrible cruelty and hollow vice that his work contained both revolted and fascinated the public. They reveled in their disgust over every detail. There were those who openly enjoyed his shocking material, and his popularity among some only fed the hatred of those who found him abhorrent. This continued for several years, while the infamy of Darius grew steadily. Then, in his 29th year, without warning, the dreams and nightmares ceased. Darius felt a weight lifted as he no longer endured the nightly tortures but was confused. "What have I done to displease my mistress?" he wondered aloud. Interest in the works of Darius Shano waned. His prose became stale, and his ideas failed to provoke the shock and outrage they once had. As the memory of his notoriety and his terrible dreams faded, the questions that raced in his mind eventually produced resentment against Vernima, his former mistress. Resentment grew into hatred. From hatred came ridicule, and over time ridicule became disbelief. Slowly, it became obvious. Vernima had never spoken to him at all. His dreams were simply the product of a sick mind that had righted itself. He had been deceived by his own subconscious, and the anger and shame overwhelmed him. The man who once conversed with a deity drifted steadily into heresy. In time, all of the bitterness, doubt, and sacrilege focused in Darius, a creative philosophy that was threaded throughout all of his subsequent work. He challenged the gods themselves, as well as the infantile public and corrupt state for worshipping them. He mocked them all with perverse caricatures, sparing no one and giving no quarter. He challenged the gods in public to strike him down if they existed, and ridiculed them when no such comeuppance was delivered. To all of this, the people reacted with outrage far greater than they had shown his previous work. His early career had offended only sensibilities, but now he was striking directly at the heart of the people. His body of work grew in size and intensity. Temples, nobles, and commoners were all targets of his scorn. Finally, at age 39, Darius wrote a piece entitled "The Noblest Fool," ridiculing the emperor god Tiber Septim for integrating into the pathetic Nine Divines cult. The local king of Dania, who had been humiliated by this upstart in the past, saw his chance. For his sacrilege against the empire, Darius Shano was executed with a ceremonial blade in front of a cheering crowd of hundreds. His last bitter words were gurgled through a mouthful of his own blood. 20 years after their wager was first placed, Vernima and Sheogorath met over Darius Shano's headless corpse. The Dreamweaver had been eager for this meeting. She had been waiting for years to confront the Daedric prince over his lack of action. "I have been deceived by you, Sheogorath. I performed my half of the bargain, but during your 10 years you never contacted the mortal once. He owes none of his greatness to you, or your talent, or your influence." "Nonsense," croaked the mad god. "I was with him all along. When your time ended and mine began, your worshippers in his ear were replaced with silence. I severed his link to that from which he found the most comfort and meaning, and withheld the very attention the creature so desperately craved. Without his mistress, this man's character could ripen under resentment and hatred. Now his bitterness is total and overcome by a madness fueled by his rage. He feeds me, in my realm, as an eternal servant." Sheogorath turned and spoke to the empty space by his side. "Indeed, Darius Shano was a glorious mortal, despised by his own people, his kings, and even by the gods he mocked. For my success, I shall accept 60 followers of Vernima into my service, and the dreamers will awaken as madmen. And thus did Sheogorath teach Vernima that without madness, there are no dreams and no creation. Vernima will never forget this lesson.
In the days before the Orsinium's founding, the spurned orc folk were subjected to ostracism and persecutions even more numerous and harsh than their progeny are accustomed to in our own age. So it was that many champions of the Orzamer traveled, enforcing what borders they could for the proliferation of their own people. Many of these champions are spoken of yet today, among them the Cursed Legion, Gromma the Hairless, and the noble Emeg Grokaira. This latter crusader would have certainly risen to legendary status throughout Tamriel had he not been subject to the attention of certain Daedric princes. Emeg Grokaira was the bastard son of a young maiden who was killed in childbirth. He was raised by the shaman of his tribe, the Gwillicamaug, in the peaks of what we now call Norma Heights. Late in his 15th year, Emeg forged by hand an ornate suit of scaled armor, a rite of ascension among his tribe. On a blustery day he pounded the final rivet, and draping a heavy cloak over the bulky mantle, Emeg set out from his village for the last time. Word of his exploits always returned home, whether defending merchant caravans from brigands or liberating enslaved beast folk. News of the noble orc crusader began to grace even the lips of Bretons, often with a tinge of fear. Less than 2 years after ascending to maturity, Grokaira was making camp when a thin voice called out from the thickening night. He was surprised to hear the language of his people spoken by a tongue that obviously did not belong to an orc. "Lord Kaira," said the voice, "tales of your deeds have crossed the lips of many, and have reached my ears." Peering into the murk, Emeg made out the silhouette of a cloaked figure, made wavy and ephemeral by the hazy campfire. From the voice alone he had thought the interloper an old hag, but he now decided that he was in the presence of a man of slight and lanky build, though he could discern no further detail. "Perhaps," the wary orc began, "but I seek no glory. Who are you?" Ignoring the question, the stranger continued, "Despite that, Orsimer, glory finds you, and I bear a gift worthy of it." The visitor's cloak parted slightly, revealing nothing but faintly glinting buttons in the pale moonlight, and a bundle was withdrawn and tossed to the side of the fire between the two. Emeg cautiously removed the rags in which the object was swathed, and was dazzled to discover the item to be a wide, curved blade with ornately decorated handle. The weapon had heft, and Emeg realized on brandishing it that the elaborate pommel disguised the more practical purpose of balancing the considerable weight of the blade itself. It was nothing much to look at in its present condition, thought the orc, but once the tarnish was cleaned away and a few missing jewels restored, it would indeed be a blade worthy of a champion 10 times his own worth. "Her name is Neb Cressin," spoke the thin stranger, seeing the appreciation lighting Grokaira's face. "I got her for a horse in a secret in warmer climes, but in my old age I'd be lucky to even lift such a weapon. It's only proper that I pass her on to one, such as yourself. To possess her is to change your life forever." Overcoming his initial infatuation with the arc of honed steel, Emeg turned his attention back to the visitor. "Your words are fine, old man," Emeg said, not masking his suspicion. "But I'm no fool. You traded for this blade once, and you'll trade for it again tonight. What is it that you want?" The stranger's shoulders slumped, and Emeg was glad to have unveiled the true purpose of this twilight visit. He sat with him a while, eventually offering a stack of furs, warm food, and a handful of coins in exchange for the exotic weapon. By morning, the stranger was gone. In the week following Emig's encounter with the stranger, Neb Crescent had not left its scabbard. He had encountered no enemy in the woods, and his meals consisted of fowl and small game caught with bow and arrow. The peace suited him fine, but on the 7th morning, while fog still crept between the low-hanging boughs, Emig's ears pricked up the telltale crunch of a nearby footfall in the dense snow and forest debris. Emig's nostrils flared, but he was upwind, being unable to see or smell his guest, and knowing that the breeze carried his scent in that direction, Emig's guard was up, and he cautiously drew Neb Crescent from its sheath. Emig himself was not entirely sure of all that happened next. The first moment of conscious memory in Emig Grokeira's mind after drawing Neb Crescent was the image of the curved blade sweeping through the air in front of him, spattering blood over the virginal powder coating the forest floor. The second memory was a feeling of frenzied bloodlust creeping over him, but it was then that he saw for the first time his victim, an orc woman, perhaps a few years younger than himself. Her body, a canvas of grisly wounds enough to kill a strong man 10 times over. Emig's disgust overwhelmed the madness that had overtaken him, and with all his will enlisted, he released Neb Crescent from his grip and let the blade sail. With a discordant ringing, it spun through the air and was buried in a snowdrift. Emig fled the scene in shame and horror, drawing the hood of his cloak up to hide himself from the judging eyes of the rising sun. The scene where Emig Grokeira had murdered one of his own kind was a macabre one. Below the neck, the body was flayed and mutilated almost beyond recognition, but the untouched face was frozen in a permanent expression of abject terror. It was here that Sheogorath performed certain rites that summoned Malakath, and the 2 Daedric lords held court in the presence of the disfigured corpse.
"Why show me this, mad one?"
began Malakath, once he recovered from his initial wordless outrage.
"Do you take such pleasure in watching me grieve the murder of my children?"
His guttural voice rumbled, and the patron of the Orsimer looked upon his counterpart with accusing eyes.
"By birth she was yours, brother outcast," began Sheogorath,
solemn in aspect and demeanor.
"But she was a daughter of mine. By her own habits, my mourning here is no less than your own, my outrage no less great." "I am not so sure,"
grumbled Malakath.
"But rest assured that vengeance for this crime is mine to reap. I expect no contest from you. Stand aside."
As the fearsome prince began to push past him, Lord Sheogorath spoke again.
"I have no intention of standing between you and vengeance. In fact, I mean to help you. I have servants in this wilderness, and I can tell you just where to find our mutual foe. I ask only that you use a weapon of my choosing. Wound the criminal with my blade, and banish him to my plane, where I can exact my own punishment. The rights of honor killing here belong to you."
With that, Malakath agreed, took the wide blade from Sheogorath, and was gone. Malakath materialized in the path of the murderer, the cloaked figure obscured through a blizzard haze. Bellowing a curse so foul as to wilt the surrounding trees, the blade was drawn and Malakath crossed the distance more quickly than a wild fox. Frothing with rage, he swung the blade in a smooth arc, which lopped the head of his foe cleanly off, then plunged the blade up to its hilt in his chest, choking off the spurts of blood into a steady, growing stain of red bubbling from beneath the scaled armor and heavy cloak. Panting from the unexpected immediacy and fury of his own kill, Malakath rested on a knee as the body before him collapsed heavily backwards and the head landed roughly upon a broad, flat stone. The next sound broke the silence like a bolt.
"I'm sorry,
sputtered the voice of Emegrokera. Malakath's eyes went wide as he looked upon the severed head, seeping blood from its wound, but somehow kept alive. Its eyes wavered about wildly, trying to focus on the aspect of Malakath before it. The once proud eyes of the champion were choked with tears of grief, pain, and confused recognition. To his horror, Malakath recognized only now that the man he had killed was not only one of his awesome children, but very literally a son he had blessed an orc maiden with years hence. For achingly long moments the two looked upon each other, despondent and shocked. Then, silent as oiled steel, Sheogorath strode into the clearing. He hefted Emegrokera's disembodied head and bundled it into a small grey sack. Sheogorath reclaimed Neb Crescent from the corpse and turned to walk away. Malakath began to stand, but kneeled again, knowing he had irreversibly damned his own offspring to the realm of Sheogorath, and mourned his failure as the sound of his son's hoarse pleas faded into the frozen horizon.